Hello, everyone. This is Whitney Will from Star Earth Astrology, and I'm here today for your midweek astrology check-in. So I do these on Wednesdays. We check in about the astrology that's happening, what we can look for over the next week and the weekend, with the aim of grounding you in the knowledge of what's going on, of providing some context for the things that are happening so that we're not taking everything in our lives personally, so that we can maintain some equilibrium and retain our ability to make choices about our own behavior and our experiences and how we interpret those. So let's jump right in. We are in the sleepiest phase of the moon right now. So we are in a balsamic moon phase. The new moon is tomorrow. We're in the balsamic. Aries moon, is the moon in Aries yet? Let's see. No, goes in tomorrow morning. So we're in a sleepy balsamic Pisces moon. You might feel more sensitive. You might feel more porous, like more intuition gets in. Relish in that. Enjoy the intuitive parts of it. It's not pressing that you take action right now. So just don't wait till we have a new lunar month, because it's going to be a big pivot. The month ahead, the lunar month ahead, is going to change. It's going to change the dominant story. I mean, I really see this month and this new moon as an introduction to new themes that we've been dragged through Saturn land. We've been dragged through Capricorn and Aquarius, through Venus and Mars transiting those signs, through retrogrades of the personal planets, right? We've been in this space for a really long time. And the month ahead is a whole different story. And then the month ahead is going to end. The next lunar month is eclipse season after this. So we are like, Act 2 begins this week, and it is a whole different story. It is a whole different scene. It's really hard to predict because it's like we've been focusing so much on the Saturn parts of our charts, and the Pisces part, I mean, obviously has been picking up some momentum in the last month, but really that starts to crescendo in the next month. So we're pulled into some very different themes. And then Aries season is going to get pumped full of energy, really kind of during Taurus season. But we're getting pulled into different parts of our charts. And I am so excited for the theme break, for the scene break. I just think it's going to be good. So today, Wednesday, March 30th, we have Venus square the nodal axis. Normally I wouldn't be so focused on this, but I think it's really significant because the North Node is in Venus's sign. She's kind of moving forward towards the North Node. So I kind of like, when I experience these transits, I feel like it's like we were leaning into the past when the planets are kind of clustered around the South Node or closer to the South Node. And then when they move towards the North Node, we get a little bit more curious. We get a little bit more hungry. We've got Venus as a morning star. She's like, let's make it happen. And that's really kind of the theme for the next month, is like, we're starting over somewhere. And yeah. And right, I mean, do-overs and beginnings, they have a lot of unknowns to them, but there's a lot of creative energy there. And so we'll lean into that. So Venus squaring the nodes is really asking, like, it'd be a really beautiful ritual in the balsamic moon when you're letting go of stuff to just be like, this is the stuff I'm not going to worry about anymore. This is the stuff that I'll pick up again when Venus squares the South Node in August. I think it'll be around August. I don't know. No, that's when the sun will square the nodes. But, when she's moving back towards the South Node, we can leave that for next fall. We're in a different scene. Then tomorrow we have an Aries New Moon. And this Aries New Moon, we kind of slide into this weekend that's really about the sun and Mercury and Chiron. And because they are going to all conjoin each other over the weekend, the new moon is pretty tightly conjoined Chiron. Chiron, I find, really depends on where you are in your process. whether it is the wound or the mastery of the wound or the teaching or the connecting with the mentors and the healers, or those archetypes inside of yourself. So it can kind of show up in all of those ways. I don't like to be afraid for Chiron transits, but I do like to make space for a wholehearted kind of to fully digest whatever is coming up around them. And this is a new story around them because we have a new moon. So we have a new moon with the sun and the moon conjunct Chiron. Then on Friday, April 1st, we have the sun come into the exact conjunction with Chiron, right? So we have our inner center, our inner sense of purpose, the sun, that steady point that gives us stamina, reconciling with the archetypes of Chiron. I think when the sun conjoins things, we really have an opportunity to really own that part of our story. So especially if you have anything in Aries, and especially around 11, 12 degrees of Aries, that's where these are taking place, 12, 13. Right there, I think transiting, where natal Chiron is can maybe signify the wound and our place of where we're most sensitive to rejection, but where transiting Chiron is transiting Chiron is not bringing the wound. Transiting Chiron is bringing the medicine. And sometimes we have to reopen the wound to get the medicine in, but it's the medicine. So I think lean into that. So that's Friday. Then on Saturday, we have the sun conjunct Mercury in Aries. So Mercury and the sun are together in Aries. This is the superior conjunction. So Mercury is the farthest away from Earth it ever gets. This also means we're at the astrological midpoint. Doesn't necessarily line up with the calendar midpoint, in between Mercury retrogrades. So it always surprises me how fast that comes, but we are halfway in between that Mercury retrograde that was in Aquarius and Capricorn, and the one that we'll get in May, I believe, that is in Gemini and Taurus. So Mercury and the sun are coming together. If Mercury retrograde is the point where we have to pause our autopilot and really tap in and pay attention, this is the one where we're kind of flying. And we're in Aries, so we're kind of flying. And especially after what happens on Monday, I think Aries will pick up a little bit more speed and enthusiasm, because the transit that is building, that perfects on Monday, April 4th, is Mars conjunct Saturn. Dun, dun, dun. And this feels like a transit that really is a landmark in how far we've come during the process of this pandemic over the last 2 years, because the last Mars-Saturn conjunction we had in Aquarius, well, this is the last one that we'll get for 30 years, but the previous one that we had in the spring of 2020 coincided with all of the lockdowns. So hopefully this is not looking like more lockdowns surrounding whatever the new variant is. But this is traditionally the two malefics meeting up in the sky can be a problematic aspect. I think Austin called this like the fresh hell alignment, which I don't think that necessarily means that on a personal level. This is not to be fear-mongery. It's just like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Yeah, could be a little bit tense. And so where it ties in with the Aries part is that Mars is the ruler of Aries, coming into a conjunction with Saturn can put a damper on things. So once we move beyond Monday and Mars is no longer approaching that conjunction with Saturn, there's a little bit more levity. Then on Tuesday the 5th, the moment that we've all been waiting for since Venus left Libra in September, Venus enters Pisces. So now, we may have just had the two malefics, Mars and Saturn, traditionally signifying more difficult things, not evil planets. That's not true for any of them. They just had their conjunction in Saturn sign Now Venus moves into the sign of her exaltation, ruled by Jupiter, who's in Pisces right now. So now we just had the two malefics get together, but we have the two benefics coming together. And throughout April, they're going to build towards a conjunction that perfects on our first eclipse. So very exciting. So this is, we finally, this builds towards one of the high points of 2022, right? Some of the headlines for it was really high highs, really low lows. This is one of the high highs. I don't know. Astrologers are going crazy with this. This is like the Great Gatsby month. This is like the Roaring 20s. Everyone's like, oh God. We'll see. It depends on what role these planets play in your chart, what role Pisces plays in your chart, how you're likely to experience things based on if you're a Saturnine person or a Mercurial person or more Venusian person. Yeah, but this is some good condition right here. So that's really nice. And that shift happens and Venus will be in Pisces through the end of April. Mars also squares the nodes that day. Again, we've got Mars moving towards the North Node, more geared towards the future. So that's what we have for the next week. It's some shifts, but remember, we're in the first week of the lunar month. So we have that feeling, that kind of buzzy feeling of the beginning of something, but we don't exactly know what it is yet. So that remains to be seen, and we will start seeing that over the next week after that. Okay, I did have a question this week. So with these weekly check-in videos, I do Q&As. So if you have a question about general astrology, personal astrology, feel free to DM me or email me, and I will bring it on and talk about it. So the question that I had, I don't have a chart for the question, is about the coming Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces. So that perfects on Tuesday the 12th. So I'll be talking about that more in next week's video, but this is a good little preview because this is one of the big deal things for 2022, because whenever we have outer planets coming together, it's quite significant. Jupiter and Neptune can join every 13 years, 13, 14 years. And so it's significant, and they'll only make one exact conjunction. And it happens on the 12th. So the way, I'm not going to talk about it generally because you can hear that everywhere. The astrology podcasts talked about it a lot in their March forecast episode. I'm sure they'll talk about it again for their April forecast episode, and they do a great job of talking about things in the mundane realm. In the personal realm, right? I think that this transit really depends on how you experience Neptune and what Neptune looks like and feels like to you. Because I know that some people experience Neptune as a malefic, and some people experience Neptune as this psychedelic, hopeful dream space connection with God. Right? The way that I feel about the outer planets is that, right, they are super potent and kind of transpersonal in the sense that they don't give you things that are bite-sized and human life size. They give you these giant things that are way too much for one human in our finitude to digest fully. And so, right, sometimes that can make us feel really blown out, really overwhelmed, really beside ourselves, really uncontained. And sometimes that can make us feel really inspired and really connected with God or with, whatever palatable term for God you like to use. And Jupiter can kind of do that as well. But I think Jupiter has more of like, I see Jupiter and Saturn really as like wise teachers. And so they are going to give you things in more bite-sized, this is what like a human can digest, versus the outer planets that are like this is going to be bigger than that. So Jupiter coming together with Neptune can be a vision of the way forward, I think. The particular person who asked me about this has this conjunction happening around their North Node. And so, right, there is that, the pull of the obsession of the North Node. I mean, in my studies of astrology, what I've come to about the North Node is that it is our place of obsession and fascination. And as Maya from Her Darker Materials talked about in a workshop that she did for me on purpose and calling in the birth chart, she talks about both the North Node and Neptune as places where we can get lost. Because they they spin dream webs. And I think a lot about the mirror of Erised in Harry Potter. And right, this mirror that when you look into it, you see yourself receiving the thing that you most want. And Harry, of course, sees his parents, himself part of a family, but right, the point of all of that is Dumbledore says, right, like, men have wasted away in front of this mirror. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. And so I think that ultimately, okay, so that's the overwhelming thing about this transit. But when we're lost, when our understanding of the basic functioning of the world has broken down because of a pandemic, because we don't have faith in our government, because we don't have faith in the media, etc., we need a vision of the way forward. We need to buy in again to whatever is life sustaining, to whatever storyline feels life affirming for us. And so I think that this conjunction can bring us that. I think it can be hopeful. I think it can be inspiring. I think it can be connective. I think it can dissolve boundaries. I think it can also create kind of cult-like behaviors, and we might see the peak of some of the more negative conspiracy theory stuff happening around then. So I guess this conjunction, I think, right, like treat it like an experience of unreality. So, right, like you would head into a psychedelic experience, or like you would head into a breathwork experience, right, where you are possibly going to have visions and absorb things not through your rational mind, and they may have potent messages for you, but don't confuse the vision itself for the message, right? Like, you know, that phrase, write drunk and edit sober, right? Experience this conjunction and all of its numinousness and everything that it can bring to you, and then, right, and then integrate it, then digest it, then figure out what it means in human terms for your life. And that's what I have to say. And I hope you have a good week. And I'm really excited to hear how things are changing in your lives, and how these are showing up for you. So thank you for being here. Yeah. I would love to work personally with you guys and your charts. You can book readings through my website. Yeah, I feel like we're kind of getting to the good part of the year, and so that's really fun. Also, my favorite time to do readings is in eclipse season, so in between April 30th and May 15th, and those dates are just becoming available on my calendar. So I would love to see some of you then. Have a great week. See you later.